Buy a round for me. Buy a round.
We'll pay you in alcohol.
If you can shrink the distance between 2 points, does that give you the power to compress time?
In order to allow more physicians to treat more patients doing minimal invasive successfully, I think robotics gotta be involved.
Throughout time, we have had to deliver the patient to the doctor.
Just the sheer number of specialists that exist in the world are so few. You can have a generalist in one location, a specialist in another location. That's what we're lacking.
Enter teletherapeutic robotics. It is now possible to have a robot thousands of miles away perform surgery on you. That's right. A surgeon in New York City could be operating on you in Omaha, Nebraska.
You can think about, a future where you have a robot that's going around in a van or a plane, or it's in some remote place in Africa or India, and you got a surgeon here over 5G, and you're able to do surgeries.
We have to bring technology in to solve the problem, because if we don't, there's a tsunami of elderly patients coming, and right now we don't have the current infrastructure to treat those patients.
We were fortunate enough to be at the R&D facility for Verizon in Waltham, Massachusetts, as Corindus Vascular Robotics was testing and simulating procedures on their teletherapeutic telerobotic platform over a 5G network across the city in Cambridge. The surgeon was in Waltham performing the simulated surgery, and the surgical team, without a surgeon, was at the bedside 10 miles away, clearing a clogged artery and then delivering a stent. And it could have been 10,000 miles away. Thanks to the speed and data capabilities of a 5G network over the internet, distance may no longer matter. "5G networks, speed, and data capabilities are enabling companies like Corindus to put enough information through the internet to have a surgeon have the same control as if they were bedside with the patient." Corindus was founded at the Technion Institute of Technology. It is considered the MIT of Israel. In 2006, it moved its headquarters to Boston, Massachusetts. The name Corindus came from the Latin base of cor, which equals heart, and Indus, which is a river in India, one of the longest in Asia. To form Corindus, flow through the heart.
Nominal is 10,
Yep,
burst is 16.
Okay, go up to 10 atmospheres.
Okay. 4, 6, 8, 10.
Good. And come on down.
So as long as the network performance and integrity is there, mileage doesn't matter.
Correct.
So you're proving right now a number of things, but one primarily that we can perform over a 5G network, assuming the performance has got continuity to it. It shouldn't change the performance of the telerobotic system.
Correct.
All right, so what do you want?
Do you have a JL or an FL 4.0?
JL
Different guy.
4.0, yeah?
Yeah, let's do that. JL 4.0.
We're showing that a physician, even without full control of a cath lab, can control the case through verbal commands and be immersed in the room and have good communication protocols with the room. And I think what we just saw in that last case, we've shown that you can handle certain complications from the remote location.
So that could be a
no
tech.
need for
That could be a tech.
It could be a tech on the other end assisting a physician with a remote complication management strategy.
And test again. Yeah, you're not quite in. Pull back on it and clock it. Torque it the other way. There you go. Test that. There, you're in. Good.
Now I can step out. I can actually have a talented physician and have a suite of rooms potentially.
Correct.
Or I can be knocking out cases, and they might be all in the same hospital on different floors.
Correct.
Or they might be in a city.
They could be in a city, they could be across state lines, it could be a scenario where an expert is teleproctoring another physician through a case many miles away and has the ability to take over and assist with that case if they need to.
So we can see the results of the complication here. The blood pressure is low in this simulated patient, and the EKG has changed.
That's 6.
Can I get a 3.0? Do you have a 13, you said, stent?
Yep.
Let's do that.
Nick, let's call completion time on the proximal lesion 1044. They can essentially have, we call it physician in a bottle. They can have the best physician techniques in the world packaged into a robotic system, available via a menu, and be able to do cases with the same quality and the same challenge resolution that Aaron Grantham, one of the world's leading physicians, can do. Or Ryan, who's done a ton of remote cases. They can have Ryan's techniques built into the system that allow them to handle remote complications the way Dr. Ryan Mader does.
I put in the Medicuity stuff though.
All right, I'm gonna let you get back.
Is that good?
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Case 5? Good.
Case 5.
I don't think so. But...
I sat down with Doug Teeney, the Chief Operating Officer of Corindus Vascular Robotics, and he shared the importance of this robotic breakthrough technology.
For people wondering how this all works, for heart attacks, roughly 80% of the US population is within an hour of a hospital that they can get appropriate care for a heart attack. We don't think 80% is enough. It ought to be 100%. It ought to be high 90s because we've been doing this for a long time. So for people thinking about why robotics matters and why telerobotics, you don't want to be in that 20% and have a heart attack somewhere where you can't get to care.
Because what does that mean to the heart? If I get
That
choked
means
down with
long-term
blood, right?
disability or death. In the most extreme cases, people don't always make it through heart attacks. With stroke, it's much, much worse than a heart attack. So our data that we've pulled together suggests there are anywhere between 700,000 and 800,000 strokes in the United States. Out of those, not all are acute ischemic strokes, which are occlusion-based that you can go treat.
Meaning you get a clog.
You get a clog or a clot. Out of those, 700 to 800, 150,000 are treatable with vascular interventions. They're the clog that you can go unclog and restore blood flow. Minutes matter in that scenario. And out of the 150,000 that have this condition, less than 5% actually get treatment in the time they need it. That is hundreds of thousands of patients around the world that don't get the care they need before they're faced with
Because of a distance
significant
issue.
long-term.
It's a distance issue.
Because of an access to specialized expertise. And so these people that lose time getting treatment have to suffer with this for the rest of their lives.
There always seems to be a fixation on the doctor.
I have that fixation a little too, but I'll explain.
And we all do, though, right? Because
Yeah.
they're the people who are making the magic happen, and it's typically on that analog one-to-one basis. But what I stepped back today to observe was that the workflow in the room should be independent of the skill of the physician.
And then on the other end of the equation, this concept of opportunities, if a physician is remote, and if they're backed by automation, AI, and telerobotics, there's a whole classification of jobs that we think evolve to exist in the future that support these remote cases. It's whether you consider it a tech plus, or a remote, or a telerobotics technician, you have to have some form of appropriate medical care at the local site for a remote case. And we don't think long-term that's a physician. So there's lots of opportunity.
The genius at times in our world can be intimidating. A robot operating on Aunt Sally or Uncle Buck being controlled by someone 1,000 miles away? Well, if there were no other options for them because they lived in the middle of Open Zipper, Iowa, you bet they would opt for a robot. Or how about if you lived in the middle of Queens and the nearest stroke center was 10 miles away in New York City and it was rush hour? It made it a 1-hour trip, but right across the street was a telerobotic stroke room, and your remote neurosurgeon can hop on their console, which may have no geographic limits, and pull the plug of plaque out of your brain and restore blood flow just like that. The new era of digital natives and robotic-empowered healthcare is mind-bending and real. You're welcome, True Future.